It is a beautiful sunny day, and you are enjoying the scenery at the narrow stream. But just as you reach out for your camera to take a picture, you lose your balance. And now your expensive camera lies in the water, and your foot hurts terribly. All you wish to do is get back to Buckley. But getting back is not going to be easy. There is literally a whole mountain between you and your foster home. The same mountain you have just passed on your route north. Climbing up those steep slopes is not going to be easy with your twisted ankle, and you may not make it back before dark. The prospect of getting stuck in darkness somewhere in those narrow trenches is not something you are looking forward to. Compared to the darkness up the mountain, the second stream is an idyllic place, giving the impression that all misery is behind us. Right behind the second stream are the paddocks, a landscape which is somewhat similar to the area they passed at the start of their hike, before they entered the forest. There are no farms or villages in sight, but there are fences and cows, giving the impression that they have to be close to some village, or at least some farms with people who can help. Why climb all the way back over that mountain with a twisted ankle, when it should be easy to call a taxi at the next village? Beyond the paddocks, the Pianista Trail disappears into the forest again, climbing up to the next ridge. This does not seem like a good route to take, but there is a narrow side trail going north across the paddocks, which seems a lot easier. However, as we move away from the main trail, this side trail is harder to follow while it moves steeply down, crossing a third stream before reaching another dense forest. Around 1630, after crossing the third stream, Kris and Lisanne would have found themselves in a difficult situation. Ahead of them, there were more slopes and a dense forest, while with her twisted ankle and broken metatarsal bones, Lisanne might not have been able to climb back up the steep slope they had just descended. Most of all, right behind them, the sun was already very low above the slope and the western mountains. Although there was still about 2 hours of daylight left until sunset, they would soon find themselves in the shadow of the mountains, with as yet no farm or village in sight. It is possible that the sight of the setting sun, together with the forest ahead of them and the absence of any safe shelter, made them call the Dutch emergency number twice. But by now they were far beyond the range of the phone network. There are trails leading through this forest, which are used to guide cattle from one paddock to the next. However, these trails are not maintained and hard to find. Although it is possible the girls managed to find the trail, it is equally possible that they passed through the forest by following the stream. If the girls managed to find the route through the forest, it would take them to a small wooden shed in the northern part of the paddocks, which they would reach around sunset, a place which would seem safe. This would explain why they switched off both their phones just before sunset and never used them again that whole night. We know very little about this shed, apart from the fact that it was apparently rebuilt sometime after 2017, with the present building no longer in the exact same position and orientation as the one visible in satellite pictures from 2013. We do not know if this shed was inhabited in April 2014, or even if it was ever properly searched by any official search team. We can deduce from our timeline that if the girls ever reached this shed, it must have been very close to sunset, when light was already fading away. The calculated arrival time at this shed fits nicely with the fact that the girls switched off their phones at 17:52, just before sunset. Because they arrived in fading light, it is possible that the next morning, when they took a look around, they did not recognize anything and became confused which direction they had to take to get back to the trail. The panic of not being able to find the trail back to the Mirador may have caused a string of new alarm calls, starting almost immediately after sunrise. There was no immediate danger though, as they were supposedly in a safe place, with a small stream nearby providing them with fresh water. If they were unable to find a route back, they could stay here. And if they did, they would surely have been found and rescued. In the afternoon of April 3, Feliciano was the first to walk the trail all the way to the lookout spot. However, he did not take the trail north to the next paddock and never came close enough to be heard or seen by the girls. The next official search is a helicopter flight, which passed over the paddocks on April 6 or 7. However, it is possible that by that time the girls had moved on. There are 3 routes leading away from the shed. The most southerly of these will take you back to the Mirador, and is the same route the girls most probably arrived on. The easterly route leads steeply uphill to the next paddock, and from there into a very dangerous area known as the Belt. The westerly route leads into dense forest and eventually to the first cable bridge. However, none of these trails are regularly maintained, and they are hard to find, often requiring the use of a machete to pass through. The only other option open to the girls would be to follow the stream, either toward the north or the south. Following the stream to the south would get them back toward the Mirador and the trail. However, following the stream to the north would have taken them into the very rough terrain of the Belt area. But even if we assume that by now the girls must have been moving at an extremely slow speed, the search area remains very large, including dense forests and very rough terrain. As the backpack and some of their remains were recovered on the shore of the main river, it is likely the girls moved downhill, either to the north or the east. Sadly, we may never know why they did not retrace their footsteps and head south, back to the Mirador, or stay at the shed, where they would have been found. When they crossed the Continental Divide, the girls may not have fully understood how harsh and uninhabited this terrain is, and how much it differs from the Pacific side. They were ill prepared for such a trip, just as the Panamese authorities were ill prepared to organize a proper search in this terrain. Accidents such as this are usually caused by a combination of many different factors. The rationale behind some of them we might understand easily, while we might never know the reason for some other decisions. It is quite clear, though, that the girls acted extremely brave in a situation which was far worse than they could have been expected to handle. Although this scenario answers many questions, it does not fully explain why the girls left the safety of the paddocks and ventured into the very rough terrain beyond, instead of waiting for rescue or retracing their footsteps back to the Mirador.